Hello. Hey guys, it's Violet with, what am I with? Murder Mystery Masterpiece. All right, sorry about that. Sorry for missing last week. I just didn't get my shit together, so here we are. This week, we are going to talk about a pretty old murder, okay? This one is from the 1920s, and it is actually what the movie A Perfect Murder was based off of. So, did you guys see that? It had Ryan Gosling and Sandra Bullock and some other guy that I can't remember. For some reason, this movie completely creeped me out. This story is about two boys who grew up in the Kenwood neighborhood right outside of Chicago. It's a super exclusive neighborhood back in the 20s, primarily Jewish. The families that lived there were like disgustingly wealthy, so wealthy. And these two boys in particular, very wealthy. So one of them's dad was like worth like $10 million, and this was back in 1920. So what I'm getting at is these kids were wealthy, okay? And there are two boys. One is, I got to think about what color I want to do first. This is what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm doing like a dandelion, by the way, and I'm kind of straying from my original colors, so we'll see what happens. So the first boy is Nathan Leopold. He was born November of 1904. And he was born to Nathan and Florence Leopold. They were a wealthy Jewish family from Germany. Now, Nathan was a brilliant student. He was very, very smart. He went to the University of Chicago at the age of 15, and he did really well at the university. And he was actually an amateur ornithologist. So, what's an ornithologist? Someone that studies birds and looks at birds. So this is my first indication that Nathan is weird because birds creep me out. They're little beaky claw nonsense. If you love birds, I'm sorry. They're creepy. You can't like really pet them. They're, gross. So anyway, Nathan is an amateur ornithologist. I got really hung up on that. Sorry. He has published 2 ornithology papers in some prominent scientific journals. So all that to say is he's actually pretty successful at a young age. He's really smart. Now, with that being said, everybody said he was very strange and kind of a loner and just an odd dude, which he's 15, he's at a university, and he's publishing papers about birds. He's going to be a weird dude, okay? So, but nobody really expected him to do anything too crazy because he was the bird guy. All right. So the other guy we were going to talk about, pause. I think I have some weird eye thing happening. Nope. Okay, cool. Uh-oh. All right, I got to wash my brush. No, I'm not going to wash my brush. The other guy we're going to talk about is Richard Loeb. Now, if you have watched this channel for a little bit, you're going to know this is the 3rd serial killer with the name of Richard. So folks, stop naming your kid Richard because I feel like this is a trend we do not want to keep happening, okay? So Richard Loeb was born, he was the last of 4 sons. And his parents were very, very strict. And his dad was known to be violent and just like super strict. And Richard, needless to say, did not like that. So he really loved his mom. His mom was kind of like his saving grace in this very strict, rigid household. But Richard, just like Nathan, was also extremely smart. At the age of 15, he ended up going to the University of Chicago. Now, the difference with Richard was he was more of a party guy. He wasn't like the strange weirdo that Nathan was. So Richard didn't do as well in school. He actually ended up transferring to the University of Michigan, joining a fraternity. Not that fraternities are bad, but he just was more into partying. And they said he liked to play cards and read the dime books. Don't search what a dime book is, okay? It's something that's not appropriate. So he liked to read those. And they said whenever he was at the University of Michigan, he became an alcoholic. And mind you, he's like 16 at this point. So he kind of went on a little bit of a spiral. He had, like I said, mediocre grades, but all that to say, he did actually still graduate, okay? And then he graduated at University of Michigan, and then he ended up moving back to Chicago. Now, at this point, Nathan is studying law at the University of Chicago at 19. Pretty crazy, right? So Nathan and his little weird nerd bird self, he's studying law, and then Richard comes back with his like frat guy party ways, and they kind of connect. Now, whenever they were younger, they were friends. But of course, as they got older and they each go to different colleges or eventually go to different colleges, they kind of lost touch. But whenever they were both back in Chicago, they became friends again. And they started hanging out. Now, again, if you remember what I was saying about Richard and Nathan, Nathan was like the weird, strange guy. Richard was the really fun party guy. Who said that Richard was really good looking. I will insert a picture and let you decide. There's Richard. Nathan, he kind of looked like an owl. Maybe that's why he liked birds. Here's Nathan. Not that their looks matter. I just need to paint the picture for you. Paint the picture. I'm just so funny. Happy Friday. I digress. Sorry. So they got together and they became friends, right? Or they were friends and they became better friends. Now, they were exact opposites, but they had a lot in common. What did they have in common? Well, they were both atheists. And back in the 1920s, this was a big deal, okay? They both followed the teachings of, I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry, Nietzsche? Okay, so we'll just move on. They both believed that if you found pleasure in doing something, then there was nothing wrong with doing it, regardless of morality. So if you felt like you should slap someone in the face because you liked it, then it was okay. I mean, really think about that for a second. How many people would you slap in the face if it was just okay because you wanted to? I mean, if we all lived by those rules, it would be absolute freaking chaos. I mean, it might be kind of cathartic, but it'd be chaos. I digress. So they did have some ideologies in common, right? And also, they were sexually involved with one another. This, again, was super taboo in the 1920s, but they were a couple. And Richard was actually the more dominant of the two because he was gregarious and everyone loved to be around him, so he was just very outspoken. And Nathan kind of just followed along, right? They were just a really solid couple for each other. Now, what does a genius couple that's bored, super wealthy in the 1920s do? They start to vandalize things, and they start to proclaim themselves as master criminals. I don't know why. There wasn't much information about their vandalizing things. They did say that they went and vandalized Richard's fraternity house and tried to steal some things. They only got about $80, which I guess was a lot in 1920, but these kids were already super wealthy, so it really wasn't for the money. So they were just doing little petty crimes. They never really got caught. If they did, it didn't matter because they were from a really wealthy family or wealthy families. So yeah, that's what they were doing to kind of pass their time because they were bored rich kids, right? In 1921, Richard's mother passes away. Now, as we talked about, Richard's mother was really the only one that was kind to Richard in his home. So this kind of sent him on a spiral. Well, more than his already bored vandalism spirals were. So Richard, they start committing more crimes, and then Richard and Nathan decide that they want to commit the perfect murder. So somehow they jump from vandalizing frat house to committing the perfect murder. So in 1923, they start talking about the things they need to do to make sure they don't get caught, which is what they consider to be the perfect murder. So this is my thought. If they feel like doing something gives you pleasure and it's not wrong. Like, why are they worried about getting caught then? Tell me that. In May of 1924, they start to really put this plan to action. And they start planning how they're going to do it and then gathering supplies. So, what supplies, do you ask? They start getting tape and rope. They got boots to wear. They got a portable typewriter, which was a big deal back then, so that they can write a ransom note on this portable typewriter that hopefully wouldn't be tied to them. They got, and they got hydrochloric acid to disfigure the body, whoever's body this might be, disfigure the body so it wouldn't be identifiable. This was in 1920 and they figured this out. Like, good Lord. On May 21st, 1924, the guys go and rent a Willis Knight car. I will try to post a picture of this car so you can see it. It is a super popular car for this time. So, again, really smart guys. They are renting a car that is not going to be very identifiable. And they bring their bag of, death, I guess, with all their stuff, the tape, the rope, the boots, hydrochloric acid, all that stuff. So they have it in the car, they're prepared, they're ready to go. And so they just start driving around town looking for a victim. They thought as long as it was not planned who exactly the victim would be, it would help to make it the perfect murder, because then they couldn't tie it back to them as much. Well, they keep getting kind of shut down. It's not really working. They're not finding the right person. And then at about 5 o'clock, so they've spent all day long trying to find the right person to murder. Freaking psychos. They come upon 14-year-old Bobby Franks, who is walking home. Now, I just told you guys that they were trying to be anonymous and just pick up a random person. Well, Bobby is Richard's second cousin. Not super random. But I think they were having trouble getting people into the car. So Richard's like, this is the guy. This is who we're gonna kill. So he pulls over to Bobby and he's like, hey Bobby, let me drive you home. Now, Richard didn't really love Bobby anyway. I mean, well, he didn't, obviously, because he's a sociopath. But Bobby and him were tennis opponents, meaning like they always played each other in tennis, and apparently Bobby was better than him, and that really pissed him off. So this only helped him decide that Bobby was going to be the one. So anyway, they started asking like, we'll bring you home. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll bring you home. And Bobby's like, I'm not that far away from home. I'm just going to walk. And they're like, come on, we'll take you. It's okay. We'll take you. It'll be much quicker. So they end up talking the boy into getting into the car. Well, Nathan is driving and Richard is in the back seat of the car, and Bobby gets in the front seat, right? Gets in the front seat and they're just talking, and then they pass up his home and Bobby's like, that's where I live. What are you doing? You got to stop. And they just keep driving. Bobby starts to freak out, and then Richard, crazy Richard. It's amazing how many times I've said crazy Richard in these videos. Richard ends up grabbing Bobby around the neck and pulling him into the back seat. He's hitting him over the head with a crowbar. Bobby is not dying. And Richard would later say he was surprised at how much it took to kill Bobby. He ended up strangling him to death. So Bobby is dead on the floor of the car, and they're like, okay, we got to get rid of him now. Now's the time to like hide this body, right? So what do our crazy little friends do here? Not friends. They are not friends. Not our friends. These crazy folks do. Well, my dandelion got a little crazy. It's all right. I was into the story. So they go to this abandoned road, they being the Richard and Nathan, and they bring Bobby's body. They dump him at this site. Now, it wasn't clear if they actually used the hydrochloric acid to disfigure the body, because the next day, Bobby was discovered by a train a train worker. You know, the trains were big back then, so it was a train line, and Bobby's body was discovered. Now, at this, whenever the mortician came to get Bobby, not the mortician, I guess the coroner came to get Bobby, there were glasses right next to him. And so they picked up the glasses and put it, I hope you guys can see that. It's a mess. They weren't supposed to be connected, but here we are. So they came to get Bobby, and they brought Bobby to the funeral home, and because they had found the glasses, they put the glasses on Bobby's face. And when his dad came to identify the body, he was like, why are these glasses on here? My son did not wear glasses. Then the police were like, the glasses were found near the body, like pretty much on the body. So they're like, all right, these glasses must belong to the killer. So they do some research. They discover that the glasses are only sold at one place, and those particular glasses were only sold to 3 people. A woman who actually had her glasses with her, a lawyer that was out of the country at the time, and Nathan Leopold. Now, they brought him in, start questioning him, and his excuse was they must have fallen out when he was bird watching. Remember when I told you he was an amateur ornithologist? Well, brings up those crazy birds as an alibi. He said he's bird watching. The police were like, okay. Well, the police knew that Nathan was always with Richard, so they bring Richard in for questioning. And both of the boys were like, no, we were actually together. We were with girls. We were off somewhere with girls, just doing teenager things. But that couldn't have been us. We couldn't have hurt anybody. So their plan actually gets their alibi actually gets shot to hell when the family's chauffeur, I can never say that word, chauffeur? Anyway, yeah, because they have one of those because they're super wealthy. Whenever he says, I had the family car the whole time I was cleaning it at the house. The boys did not use it. I actually saw them come home in a Willis night that they had rented, and they were trying to wipe stains off of them. They said they had spilled red wine. I don't know. It seemed kind of weird to me. And the police officers were like, okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chauffeur. Chauffeur, that's it, Mr. Chauffeur. So they start telling the boys, they have them separated, and they start telling them, well, this chauffeur just told us these things that you showed up in a Willis Knight car, and you had stains all over you, red stains all over you, and you were not with girls. So what's going on? Well, Richard actually was the first one to crack. He started telling them all kinds of things. He was just spilling all the tea. He was telling it all. Then the police go over to Nathan, and they start telling him things that only Richard could have known. Well, Nathan, he just kind of sits back, and he's like, well, if I would have known that Richard was going to get all preachy, I would have killed myself and taken out a couple of coppers with me. Dude, I don't think that's what you want to be saying to the cops that are interrogating you. Please. Oh God, this thing it's getting closer and closer. Like, how cocky can you be? Seriously. After Nathan realizes that Richard's going to preach to everyone, he starts to tell him everything. He tells them all the supplies they picked up, how they've been planning it, showed them where the clothes were, where Bobby's clothes were that they tossed out, showed them where, because they had written a ransom note they ended up not giving anybody, but showed them where the typewriter was that wrote the ransom note. I mean, just told them all the things. They're like, might as well go down in a blaze of glory, I guess. I don't know. They're just telling it all. So on July 21st of that same year, the trial began. And this trial actually was a pretty big deal, and I guess like criminal history, because psychology was actually just really kind of coming into its own. And they brought in, the defense and the prosecution brought in so many different experts. that all contradicted each other. And in fact, they actually asked Sigmund Freud to come and be a witness. And it was the prosecution that had asked, and he declined. Which, first off, I didn't realize Sigmund Freud was alive in the 1920s. Like, I thought he was way older than that. So I kind of got excited when I thought he might testify, but he didn't. So, anywho, but other people did. And like I said, they all contradicted each other because no one could agree if these guys were crazy or if they were traumatized or what it might be. So the defense tried to say that both of these boys had strict governesses. So basically like strict nannies. And one of them, I can't remember which one, I think it was Richard, actually had a sexual relationship with his nanny. And that traumatized him and traumatized both of them to kill people. Okay, not talking about the one that had the sexual relationship with his nanny, but the one who had a strict nanny. I mean, like, give me a freaking break. Are you kidding me? Guys, they were not sentenced to death because the judge did take that into account. Okay, whatever, moving on. So they are both put into prison. They're put into different prisons, and they're just living their life in prison, right? Well, Richard, whenever he was 30 years old, he was taking a shower, and another inmate came into the shower. It's kind of unclear what happened, and stabbed him 52 times. Richard ended up walking out of the shower and dying on the floor in the hallway of the prison. It was later said the prisoner that killed him said that Richard tried to make a sexual advance on him, and so he killed him. Which could be true, but why did you have something with you to stab him? Like, were you just expecting him to make an advance? So there's some shadiness with that. Let's talk about Nathan. So Nathan, he started doing things in prison to get his, because he was sentenced to life, to get his life sentence, like, just years taken off. He helped with malaria trials. It wasn't exactly clear if he, like, got injected with malaria or, like a vaccine to trial, whatever. He got 15 years taken off for that. He helped other prisoners with education, literacy, all kinds of things. So he ended up being paroled. Are you freaking kidding me? He ended up being paroled. Now, his family still had a ton of money. So Nathan, he goes back home to Chicago. He says hi to everybody. He's like, I just want to live a humble life. He moves down to Puerto Rico, gets married, has 2 kids. He ended up dying of a heart attack caused by diabetes. Fine, great. But seriously, guys, he got out of prison and got married and had 2 kids. What? I'm a little salty. But it just, the whole thing was interesting to me that they kept saying they just did it for the thrill of it, to see if they could get away with it. Now, both of these guys were super smart. So, I have a theory in life. Be nice to those really smart, weird people around you. Okay? I am always nice to those people. If they are like super smart and slightly strange, they are like 2 seconds away from either solving the world's problems or planning to dissolve my body with hydrochloric acid. So, be nice to them, okay? All right. Any thoughts? Any questions? Comments? Post it down below. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Yeah, I already said that. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe out there. Stay away from the smart people. Anyway, I will see you guys hopefully next week. I'm already working on a different story, but if you have any suggestions, just post it down below. Okay, guys? Bye.